Imagine if you got your hands on a highly powerful magical sword, but a witch is ready to go to any lengths, even to kill, to obtain it. This is exactly what happens in our story today. At the beginning of the story, we see a young boy named Alex reading a book about ancient kings. He was running late for school that day, so he rushed to catch the school bus. On the way, he received a message from his friend Betters, who needed his help. Alex quickly reached school, where he found two older students, Lance and Kay, bullying Betters and stealing his things. Gathering courage, Alex confronted them, but Lance didn't appreciate his interference. Lance pushed Alex and threw his homework into the gutter. Furious, Alex lunged at Lance, and a fight broke out between the two. A teacher intervened and took them to the principal's office. As punishment, Alex, Lance, and Kay were made to stay back at school for 2 extra hours after classes. When school finally ended, Lance and Kay sought revenge and chased Alex, who ran into an abandoned building to hide. But Lance and Kay followed him there too, and threatened to beat him up. In trying to escape, Alex tripped and fell unconscious. Seeing his state, Lance and Kay panicked and left him there. When Alex regained consciousness, he noticed a sword stuck in a stone amidst the rubble. With a single pull, Alex extracted the sword, which began to glow. Hearing police sirens nearby, Alex quickly hid the sword in his bag and fled. He later called Betters to his house to show him the sword. The sword had a gemstone embedded in its handle and some Latin text inscribed on it. Using a translator, they discovered that the sword belonged to King Arthur, the same King Arthur Alex had read about in his book. The book described how, thousands of years ago, a king named Uther Pendragon ruled the land of Britain, where his subjects were very happy. However, after his death, the kingdom was left without an heir. Different ministers and leaders tried to seize power, causing chaos. To restore order, a wizard named Merlin created a magical sword called Excalibur and embedded it in a stone. He declared that only the true heir of King Pendragon would be able to pull the sword from the stone. Many warriors tried but failed until a young boy named Arthur succeeded. Arthur was later revealed to be Pendragon's lost son. Arthur grew up to be a noble king like his father. However, his half-sister Morgana believed she was the rightful heir to the throne. Using dark magic, she attacked Arthur but was ultimately defeated. Before retreating, Morgana vowed to return when the kingdom was weak to claim Excalibur for herself. Despite learning all this, Alex and Betters didn't fully believe the story. As a joke, Alex made Betters his knight and then hid the sword in his closet. Meanwhile, the news of Excalibur being removed from the stone awakened Morgana, who had been dormant deep within the earth. The awakening of the sword also roused another spirit, a young man who took on the form of a boy and arrived in the town of Stonehenge. Wandering aimlessly without clothes, a shopkeeper gave him some clothes, and he roamed the streets. When the police stopped him, he used his magical powers to hypnotize them and made them drop him off at the school where Alex and Betters studied. The boy entered the classroom and introduced himself as Merlin. His strange behavior made the students mock him. Later, during astronomy class, Merlin kept staring at Alex, making him uncomfortable. The teacher informed the class about a solar eclipse that was due in 4 days. Hearing this, Merlin became alarmed and abruptly left the room. During lunch, Merlin returned and loudly declared that King Arthur's heir had returned, and it was Alex. Uncomfortable with Merlin's proclamation, Alex ran away. Other students laughed at Merlin's words. After school, Alex decided to return the sword to where he had found it, wanting to avoid any further trouble. But that night, he woke up to find a skeletal figure wielding a flaming sword emerging from the ground outside his house. Alex called out to his mother, Mary, but she wasn't home. Panicked, Alex locked himself in his room and grabbed Excalibur, whose gemstone began to glow. The skeleton broke into his room and attacked him. Though Alex tried to defend himself, the skeleton easily disarmed him and prepared to strike him down. At the last moment, Merlin appeared and destroyed the skeleton with his magic. However, using so much magic weakened Merlin, who asked Alex to meet him at the cafeteria the next day. Alex agreed and opened his father's book to learn more about what had happened. Meanwhile, in her lair, Morgana learned that her summoned demon had been defeated by a boy and a reincarnated Merlin. Furious, Morgana broke free from her roots and summoned her demonic army to reclaim Excalibur. Elsewhere, Alex, who had fallen asleep with the sword, was caught by his mother, who scolded him for keeping such a dangerous weapon. She demanded he return it to where he had found it, but Alex seized an opportunity to escape with the sword, heading to meet Merlin for answers. Merlin, now working a mundane job, warned Alex that with Excalibur in his possession, Morgana and her demonic army would come after him. He explained that time would stop whenever Morgana's soldiers arrived, making them visible only to those connected to Excalibur. Merlin also warned that if Morgana wasn't stopped before the solar eclipse, she would bring devastation upon the entire world. Still skeptical, Alex and Betters witnessed Merlin transform into his true form and show them a vision of a grim future where Morgana ruled the world and humanity was enslaved. With no other choice, Merlin tasked Alex with finding and defeating Morgana, then vanished. Determined to end this, Alex and Betters returned to the place where Alex had found Excalibur. They began planning their next move, but were interrupted by Lance and Kay, who had come to trouble Alex again. Alex challenged them to pull the sword from the stone. As expected, neither could do it. Alex then extracted the sword effortlessly and declared them his knights. Lance tried to seize the sword from Alex, but at that moment, 3 flaming skeletal warriors emerged from the ground, riding fiery horses. Lance attempted to defend himself, but was disarmed. Just as the warriors were about to strike, Alex fought back, urging the others to run. Despite their cries for help, no one came, as time had stopped. The 4 fled down the streets, pursued by the skeletal soldiers. Using his wits, Alex managed to destroy one soldier with a car door. Kay, who knew how to drive, used a car to ram and destroy 2 more soldiers. As time resumed, an old woman appeared in the car, furious that it had been taken. The group escaped, hiding in a dark alley. Lance demanded an explanation, and Alex shared everything about Merlin and the sword. They realized they needed to find Morgana's lair and believed Alex's father, who had given him the book, might hold the key. However, Alex's parents were divorced, and his father lived far away. Their new mission was to find Alex's father and stop Morgana. Lance and Kay joined them, and the next day, the group set off on a bus. During the journey, Merlin, disguised as an owl, appeared and magically took control of the bus. He taught the children the ways of royal knights, preparing them for the battle ahead. He led them to Stonehenge, where he opened a hidden portal that would lead them closer to Morgana's lair, their journey only beginning from there. After walking for a while, Merlin decided to stop and teach the group sword fight. Using his magic, he created swords identical to Excalibur and then animated 4 trees to serve as opponents for their training. The children initially struggled, but soon they realized that the trees, using their branches and roots, were helping them learn the art of sword fighting. Just as they started getting the hang of it, Morgana used her powers to take control of the tree's roots. The roots captured Alex and Betters, who called out to Lance and Kay for help. However, Lance, driven by greed, stole Excalibur from Alex and tried to run away, only to be caught by the roots controlled by Morgana. The roots began pulling all 4 of them underground when Merlin heard their cries. Using a powerful magical spell, he destroyed the trees and their roots, but the effort left him extremely weak. Merlin transformed into an owl to regain his strength and left the group temporarily. Later, Alex demanded his sword back from Lance, but Lance refused and declared himself the new leader. As the group crossed a swampy area, Betters challenged Lance to a duel. Alex intervened and decided to face Lance himself. During their fight, Excalibur was broken into 2 pieces. Without the sword, completing their mission seemed impossible. Alex then remembered the story of the Lady of the Lake, who protected Excalibur. He pleaded with the lady to restore the sword. Suddenly, a hand emerged from the water, holding a fully restored Excalibur. Seeing this miracle, the group was overjoyed and resumed their mission. Lance, feeling guilty for his actions, apologized to Alex and vowed to always stand by him. As they continued, they encountered some villagers who offered them horses to travel further. Soon, night fell, and Morgana's soldiers began to emerge. As they appeared, time froze, and the villagers disappeared. Skeleton warriors on flaming horses started chasing Alex and his group, who fled into the forest. During the chase, Betters fell off his horse, and a soldier was about to attack him when Alex and Kay came to his rescue. Betters quickly climbed back onto his horse, but more soldiers kept emerging from the ground. The group found themselves cornered at the edge of a cliff overlooking the sea. Alex, thinking quickly, jumped off the cliff, surprising his friends, who followed him. They landed safely on a ledge partway down the cliff. The pursuing soldiers, unaware of the ledge, jumped straight into the sea and were destroyed. Relieved, Alex and his companions continued their journey and finally reached the ancient city of King Arthur, now abandoned. That night, they rested in an old castle. The next morning, Alex set out to find his father, hoping to locate Morgana's lair. In the village, he met his Aunt Sophie, who revealed that Alex's father had succumbed to alcoholism and no longer lived there. Alex, in disbelief, showed her the King Arthur book his father had given him. However, Sophie explained that the book was actually a gift from Alex's mother. Shocked, Alex realized that everything he believed about his father was a lie. Devastated, he ran off and sat on a rock, throwing the book into the sea, feeling disillusioned with King Arthur's story. Betters calmed Alex down, revealing that he had learned a duplication spell from Merlin. Lance and Kay also thanked Alex, admitting that their teamwork was making them stronger. Soon, Merlin appeared in his true form, holding the same book Alex had thrown away. Merlin explained that Alex was chosen for Excalibur not because he was King Arthur's descendant, but because of his courage and commitment to the truth. Encouraged by Merlin's words, Alex regained his determination. Merlin told Alex that the answer to finding Morgana's lair lay in the book. Alex discovered that Morgana still resided in her ancient castle in Glastonbury. To prepare for the battle, Alex and Betters went to an arcade, where Betters used his magic to create thousands of coins to buy weapons for their group. Equipped with weapons, They used Merlin's magical portal to reach Glastonbury, only to find a small, seemingly abandoned castle. As they entered, Excalibur's gem began to glow, revealing that Morgana's lair was underground. Alex struck the ground with the sword, opening a hidden passage with stairs leading down. The group descended into a cave filled with demonic roots. Suddenly, the roots attacked, capturing Betters and Kay. Lance held off the roots to give Alex a chance to move forward. Alex reached the center of the cave, where Morgana finally appeared, holding his friends captive with her magical tendrils. Morgana demanded that Alex hand over Excalibur. When Alex refused, she transformed into a monstrous creature and began spewing fire at him. Alex narrowly escaped, but Morgana cornered him and claimed he wasn't the true heir of King Arthur. Feigning defeat, Alex knelt and offered her the sword. As Morgana reached for it, Alex pulled the sword back and struck her with a fatal blow. Gravely injured, Morgana's magic began to weaken and the cave started collapsing. Alex quickly freed his friends, and they escaped just as the entire lair was destroyed. Their bravery had defeated Morgana, and the group celebrated their victory. The next day, Alex returned Excalibur to the lake, where the Lady of the Lake reclaimed it, ensuring it would be preserved for another worthy warrior. At home, Alex saw his mother sleeping and wanted to talk about everything that had happened, but he decided to wait until the right moment. The following morning, he found his window covered in roots. Merlin appeared and warned him that Morgana was still alive and planning a stronger attack on Brit. Alex realized his mistake. He had broken a soldier's code by not being honest with his loved ones. Determined to set things right, he confessed everything to his mother. She embraced him, understanding his struggles and revealing her own fears for his safety. Their bond strengthened. Trusting his mother, Alex showed her the truth about Excalibur and King Arthur by summoning the Lady of the Lake. His mother was stunned when a hand emerged from the water, holding the sword. Reclaiming Excalibur, Alex and his friends regrouped with Merlin to prepare for Morgana's next attack. With only hours left until the solar eclipse, Merlin explained that Morgana would attack with her full strength and that they would need an army to face her. Alex decided to rally the students at his school, turning them into his knights. At school, Merlin used his magic to convince the principal to gather all the students. Alex told them about the threat of Morgana, King Arthur's legacy, and Excalibur. Though initially mocked, the students were convinced when Merlin transformed into an owl. Alex knighted the students, and with Merlin's magic, they equipped themselves with armor and shields. Merlin also commandeered their parents' cars to use as weapons against Morgana's forces. Within hours, the school transformed into a fortified castle. As the solar eclipse began, Morgana's army of thousands emerged from the ground and charged toward the school. Following Alex's plan, the students used cars to mow down the soldiers at the gates. However, many soldiers breached the corridors, forcing the students to engage in direct combat. Though they fought valiantly, Morgana's soldiers began to overpower them. Alex ordered everyone to retreat to the roof, where Merlin prepared a portal to stop Morgana. Morgana attacked Merlin, forcing him to revert to his elderly form. As she transformed into a massive dragon, she unleashed fireballs at the children. Using ropes, the students managed to entangle the dragon's legs and neck, preventing her from attacking. Morgana then launched a devastating fireball at Merlin, gravely injuring him. Alex rushed to save him, giving him a magical potion to restore his strength. With his powers restored, Merlin opened a large portal to trap Morgana forever. Alex, dodging Morgana's fiery attacks, climbed onto her back and beheaded her with Excalibur. Her body was pulled into the portal, sealing her away for eternity. With the battle won, Alex and his friends celebrated their hard-earned victory. The next day, Alex returned Excalibur to the lake, where the Lady of the Lake took it back to keep it safe for future heroes. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.